Good evening. Today will be the first of my Writing Wednesday posts. Basically it's where I get, sorry, always just a little off center, where I get to talk about myself and my writing. So if you do not want to hear about me, don't watch on Wednesdays. But anyway, basically where I'll get to talk about my books. More will be coming once they actually get up on Kindle, sort of, and the covers are not completed yet. They're basically just waiting on that. They're in their like tiny little tweaking editing. I'm so sick of editing. You cannot even begin to comprehend just how done I am with editing these books. Just done. But when that is done and when the covers are completed, you will see a glorious cover review video where you see me just basically freak out, and you probably won't even be able to see my eyeballs because I'll be smiling so big and like have these like squinty eyes. Like, it'll be just really insane. That will come eventually. Be excited for it. But I'll also share, just because that's kind of a lot of content to post like every week, some of my experiences with self-publishing and actually being up on Kindle and how that was, because there's just so much out there that you can read. It's more interesting to watch, in my opinion. If someone had had a video on it, I'd have totally watched that instead. Whatever. So, the first book that we will be talking about is my longest and most favorite one, I guess you could say. It is called Guardian. This is a like totally lame, really bad version of how the font will look on the title of the book, but I love this book. I don't know what else I can just say to describe my feelings about it, but a little summary for you about it. It follows the story of 17-year-old Lila Evans, and she lives in Columbus, Ohio, which is my hometown. I want to put Columbus on the map someday when it's famous. Fingers crossed. But she's from there. She lives downtown in Columbus. She comes from an abusive family. Her parents are not around very much, and when they are around, they tend to be abusive, both verbally and physically. And she has a younger brother and sister, Colton and Grace. Colton is 10 years old and Grace is 7, and she is very overprotective of them because of her parents and just, you know, life in general and stuff. So she never really lets them out from under her wing. And so she goes to school also downtown in Columbus, to St. Rose of Lima. It's also where she goes to church, obviously. That's not a real church. I made it up because I needed certain things for the church to have, and so I created a fictitious one, which is Rose of Lima is also my confirmation saint, so that was just kind of a way to do her honor, I guess. And so she goes there and basically has gone there her whole life and is just trying to truck along. She doesn't contact anyone about foster care or anything for their situation because she turns 18 this year and is scared of being separated from Colton and Grace. So she is just very overprotective of them, does not trust anyone, her friends, her family, doesn't think they can take care of them or anything as well as she can. And so it starts when she's 17 and she goes to the first youth group meeting, and outside the church she sees a strange man and tries to invite him in, and then realizes that he's actually much older than just a high school student like her, and he denies it. And so later that night she is going home with her friend Austin, who suddenly sort of attacks her, a little bit intense, and someone comes and saves her, come to find out that it is this strange man. And so she sees him again just standing outside the church and tries to go and thank him because she's your sort of typical nice girl. I think I didn't even say before, she goes to a Catholic school, and her greatest comfort is her faith in God, everything. It's part of the reason with Colton and Grace, that's just why she can't trust anyone. You know, she has God, and that is it. She does not trust anyone else. And so she meets this stranger and she tries to thank him, and he kind of just brushes her off. He's like, you know, don't worry about it, just leave me alone. And so she's kind of like, fine. And so it kind of goes on from there, and he saves her again, Colton and Grace again. They go through this, I don't want to spoil everything for you, so there's like a second rescue. And so eventually she gets to talking with him and is like, you know, what are you? Who are you doing? Who are you doing? I'm sorry, that what are you doing in Columbus? Beg pardon. And he refuses to tell her pretty much, but they start this friendship anyway because he knows things about her, like her parents' abusiveness and everything like that. And it goes on. They're friends for a while. I won't get into all of that, but I will tell you kind of the big reveal of the story because I do want to talk about that a little bit. Raphael, that is the name of the man, he is a fallen angel. I know. There are like so many fallen angel books out right now, blah, 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 blah. Well, yes. And I have read a great deal of them. And my issue with them is this. Angels were created by God. You cannot have an angel that is not either sided with God or with Lucifer, with the devil. I don't care. The fall of the angels was not where they fell down from earth because they fell in love with humans. They fell because they sided with Lucifer and fought against God. And that is the basis for my book. What if those angels that fell and sided with Lucifer changed their minds and realized that they had sinned against God and wanted back into heaven? Well, just as when we sin, excuse me, God gives us, you know, in the Catholic Church, we go to confession and we get penance, which is prayers, or I guess you could even say acts of kindness and goodness to atone for our sins. Well, if as penance, he said, all right, you can come back into heaven, but first you have to fill out a penance here on earth. And so that is the basis for my book, that these angels who ask God for his forgiveness have to roam earth, essentially doing good and not falling back into the ways of sin and of Satan. And when God comes again for the second coming, as is told in Revelation, etc., etc., and that big stuff is not dealt with in my books. I do not do with the second coming because no one knows when God is coming except for God. I would never assume to try and write about that. But until that time, they have to wander the earth doing good. And so these series of books, there's going to be 4 books, and Guardian is the first, deal with angels of that. The main character in this book is named Raphael. It is not supposed to be Raphael the Archangel. There are other angels named. I don't want to reveal too much about the next books, but the angels named of the main characters are not supposed to be the archangels. I would never assume to do that either. I just used it as sort of a theme. They do have those names, but they're not supposed to be those angels. So basically, that is the basis for this. I've just spoiled the big reveal for you, but I think it kind of, you get on the cover that it is somewhat about angels, and that way you kind of understand it a little bit better. Or you're watching this and thinking, oh, that is more of what it is after you have already read it. So that is my take on it. You see all these other books that talk about, you know, fallen angels, and they don't want to go back to heaven because they've fallen in love with a human, and that's not how it works for me. They're God's creatures. They have to either be with God or with Lucifer, fighting on a side. They can't just be aimlessly serving their own purposes, because it would be an angel, God's creature, who has greater faith than an angel. And so there is like this struggle within them, sort of, you know, about resisting the pull, going back to Lucifer and trying to be good. More so than it is for humans. And obviously they still have wings and everything. They have certain powers, but a lot of their powers, like celestial powers, were stripped from them when they decided to come back from Lucifer and not be, you know, like a demon angel anymore. So that's always also very hard for them to deal with, is being more humane, I guess you could say. And so eventually, I would say almost halfway through the book, maybe only a third, because I didn't want to do this big, complicated, drawn-out reveal at the end. Just no point for that. Lila finds out what Raphael is, and then it kind of goes on. I won't tell you what the big climax and everything is, because that way that much is still a pretty big surprise for you. But that is what my inspiration was for this book. And so she has to deal with Colton and Grace, Raphael. There is another angel, more angels that come in and everything, and you'll just have to find out how they live happily ever after, because I definitely don't want to spoil that for you. Let's see. Why do I love it? I feel like it has it all. I mean, we were editing it, and my mom was like crying, like just tears, and I was like, damn, I'm good. Tooting my own horn, whatever. What can I say? I love it. I mean, there's some action, there's love, there's family strife, abuse, rescue, heroes, damsels in distress, just everything that you could want. I hope. That's what I'm going for here. It is a fairly long book. I would liken it to the length of maybe like Twilight. So you're in for a big read, but you know. I started writing it when I was a senior in high school, so it did take me quite a while to finish it. I basically started it, and then I started going to college, and after like 3 semesters I was like, I hate college, why am I doing this? So I dropped out and started working. And then I went back for another semester because I was like, maybe I do want to go to college. No, I didn't. No. And so then finally I moved to Florida, and I was like, I have got to finish this book. And so I just dove in and had it finished in like 3 months. And there it was. And I just said, all right, I am just going to take a leap of faith and start to self-publish and just do it. And so here we are, YouTube, Twitter, getting my covers done. Yeah, it's very exciting. I'm super pumped, in case you can't tell. But Guardian by Kassandra Kush. It will be released hopefully in May. It depends on when the cover comes out. I think it still would be May, maybe towards the end of the month, but stay posted for more news for Gloria's cover reveal, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you click on the link below, you will find the first 2 chapters for your reading enjoyment. Please leave a comment and let me know what you thought of it. Have a good night.